Now you will see the most interesting historical photos in your life. The photo shows a circus clown balancing act in an unusual pose with his legs thrown over his shoulders. The picture was taken around 1910. A man at a car with "just divorced" signs instead of wedding ones. USA, circa 1934, license plate from Nebraska. A man studies human skulls in an anatomical laboratory. USA, circa the 1920s. A mannequin for anatomical demonstrations is visible in the background. The patient is wearing an oxygen mask connected to a primitive respiratory support device. USA, circa 1940, possibly the treatment of polio or pneumonia. This is what some of the first New York City tour buses looked like in 1904. Before he retired from baseball, the legendary Lou Gehrig auditioned for the role of Tarzan. They made him carry and a spear and everything. And finally, apparently back in the day, peanut sellers would, well, wear suits with a ton of peanuts sewn into them. Jackie taking an early version of a selfie with Ethel, herself and John Kennedy in 1954. Here's a young Prince Charles standing between his grandmother, the Queen Mother, and Aunt Princess Margaret at his mother Queen Elizabeth's coronation in 1953. Actor Johnny Eck, who was born with an underdeveloped lower torso, poses for a promotional photo for the famous movie Freaks, 1932. Robert Kennedy and West Berlin Mayor Willy Brandt look through the Berlin Wall, February 22, 1962. Faces of War, a banquet for French soldiers who received grievous injuries during WWI, Henri Manuel, Paris, 1925. Dumont engineer James A. Craig demonstrates a simple dialing procedure on a completely automatic dial-direct mobile two-way radio telephone system in Clifton, New Jersey on March 28, 1957. The system, presently used by the Richmond Radio Telephone Service, Inca, is manufactured by Allen B. Dumont Laboratories, Inc., and is the first radio telephone equipment to allow phone calls to and from vehicles to be relayed completely unattended through local telephone companies. An Army Sikorsky R-5 helicopter undergoing record trials demonstrates its lifting power by carrying 17 persons and pilot aloft as female onlookers wave in Bridgeport, Connecticut on January 10, 1946. During the tests, records were claimed for altitude speed and both altitude and speed with payload. This is a picture of one of the last Tasmanian tigers, an animal that went extinct in 1936. This is George Hackenschmidt, the man credited with inventing the bench press. This is a picture of some of Gandhi's only earthly possessions when he died. This is what Gutzon Borglum's original model for Mount Rushmore looked like. This is Selma Burke, the woman who designed the portrait of Franklin Roosevelt that's still on the dime to this day. Held in 1903, this is what the first ever Tour de France looked like. This is Albert Wilson, the last surviving Civil War veteran. This is the USS Langley, the first United States aircraft carrier. This is a picture of the spectators, including alleged mobsters, covering their faces with hats to avoid recognition during Al Capone's trial in October 1931. His picture from 1930 shows a plane flying over the old city of Baghdad. This is Stefan Bobrowski, otherwise known as Lionel the Lion-Faced Man. Stefan had a condition known as hypertrichosis that caused hair to grow up to 8 inches long all over his body, including obviously his face. During the Battle of Britain during World War II, cows were painted with bright white paint to stop cars from hitting them during the nightly blackouts. This is Daniel Lambert, a British man who was known as the world's heaviest person in the 18th century. This is the safety net that was installed under the Golden Gate Bridge during its construction in the 1930s. The net saved 19 people through the duration of the work. The Great San Francisco earthquake of 1906 was the deadliest earthquake in U.S. history, resulting in the deaths of over 3,000 people. In the aftermath of the disaster, you could literally see where the earth split along the San Andreas Fault. This is the Willamette meteorite, the largest meteorite that's ever been found in the United States. His is what the world's largest gold nugget, named the Welcome Stranger Nugget, looked like. It was found in Australia in 1869. This is Norma Smallwood, the winner of the 1926 Miss America pageant. This 17th century painting by Giovanni Stanchi shows what the inside of a watermelon looked like in the 1600s, before selective breeding. This is one of the only pictures of President Andrew Jackson, taken shortly before his death in 1845. This is what the inside of the White House looked like when it was being reconstructed in the late 1940s. This is Herman the cat, a cat who was given the title of expert mouser aboard a U.S. Coast Guard ship during World War II. This is the iconic log cabin where Abraham Lincoln was born in 1809. John Quincy Adams was the first U.S. president ever photographed. Here he is in 1840, more than a decade after his presidency. This is the world's first skyscraper, the 10-story home insurance building, which was located in Chicago. This is Ahmed Ali Chalekton, a man who is generally considered to be one of the first black pilots, and perhaps the very first. This is Charlotte and Marjorie Collier, a mother and daughter who survived the wreck of the Titanic in 1912. In 1969, Niagara Falls was drained in order to remove a large number of boulders that had accumulated at the foot of the falls. This is what the view of downtown Manhattan looked like from the Empire State Building the year it opened in 1931. This is what one college student's dorm room looked like in the 1910s. This is Emma Lillian Todd, the first woman to design an airplane. This is a picture of the opening of the very first New York City subway back in 1904. This is William Hutchings, one of the last surviving American Revolutionary War veterans. This is the check for $7.2 million, issued Augustus Tailson, 1868, that the U.S. sent to Russia for the purchase of Alaska. This picture, from the 1980 Moscow Olympics, shows a number of performers making a human torch. And finally, this is Jack the baboon, a South African baboon who worked as a signalman at a railway station in the 1800s. During his almost decade of railway work, Jack never made a single mistake. Before he died, Abraham Lincoln had a life mask made of his face. This is what it looked like. This is the last meal Richard Nixon ate in the White House before he resigned. Pineapple, cottage cheese, and a glass of milk. These are the contestants for the 1924 Miss America pageant. This is the Thanksgiving menu that was served at the Plaza Hotel in 1899. Huntington Beach in California used to have a bunch of oil derricks on top of it. This is what a float from the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade looked like in the 1930s. Before it found its home in New York Harbor, the Statue of Liberty's head was on display at the 1878 Paris World's Fair. And here's what Lady Lib looked like while it was being packed up to be shipped to the US. This is the fold-out bed George Washington slept on during the Revolutionary War. This is what Franklin Delano Roosevelt looked like at the start of his first term as president in 1933. And this is the last picture of Franklin Delano Roosevelt ever taken, snapped just one day before his death. This is how football helmets were tested in the early 1950s. This is Charles Ponzi, the infamous scammer Ponzi schemes got their name from. This is what a ticket to the opening day of Disneyland looked like. Over 80,000 people attended the 1921 heavyweight championship boxing match between George Carpentier and Jack Dempsey. It was held at a place called Boyle's 30 Acres in Jersey City, New Jersey. Dempsey won. In 1964, Randy Gardner, pictured here, set the world record for the longest time without sleeping after staying awake 264 hours. This is the 107th U.S. Colored Infantry, pictured here in 1865. This is Althea Gibson, the first Black American to win a tennis Grand Slam title, celebrating at a parade honoring her. This is what in-flight entertainment looked like in the 1960s. '36. This is a picture from Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Can you spot Abe? I assure you, he's there. The picture, from 1930, shows what the Empire State Building looked like while it was under construction. This is how long it took to travel to different parts of the United States in 1800. This is the aftermath of the Great Molasses Flood of 1919, a deadly event that claimed the lives of 21 people in Boston after a container holding over 2 million gallons of molasses burst, sending a wave of molasses several feet high through the city streets. This is what the cabin of a passenger plane looked like in the 1930s. This map from 1507 is the first map to ever label America as America. This is what the control panel of the Spirit of St. Louis, the plane Charles Lindbergh used on his historic flight across the Atlantic Ocean, looked like. And this is the chair Charles Lindbergh sat on for his entire 33-hour flight. While we're at it, here's a diagram of his entire plane for reference. These are the prices from a 7 years ago from a restaurant in Alabama. This is what the dorm room of 2 college students looked like in the 1910s. The Capitol lawn was mowed by a steam-powered lawnmower way back in 1903. This is Louisa Ann Swain, the first American woman to ever vote in a general election. This is apparently an 8th grade test from 1912. Are you passing it? This is what the Panama Canal looked like while under construction. And finally, for 2 brief years, 1934-5, the United States issued a 100,000 bill with Woodrow Wilson's big old mug on it. Before airplanes were pressurized for commercial use, flyers had to wear oxygen masks at higher altitudes. During World War II, the USS Trigger got close enough to Japan on patrol to take a picture through its periscope of Mount Fuji. This is from 1943. Fascinating stuff. This picture, taken in 1942, shows a New York Times employee creating that day's layout of the sports page. This is a selection of prosthetic face parts designed for World War I veterans. Here's what one of those prosthetics looked like in action. This is Australian javelin thrower Reg Spires, best known for literally mailing himself in a big giant box from London to Australia in the 1960s. This is the 5S3 ULG 2.5 foot box Spears mailed himself in. The journey took over 2 days. Spears stuffed himself in the box with some tinned food, a torch, a blanket, and a pillow, plus 2 plastic bottles, one for water, one for urine. This is Frogman Courtney Brown towing a 55 scale model of the Titanic during the filming of the movie Raise the Titanic. The movie was, well, about raising the Titanic from the ocean floor. Interestingly enough, because the movie was made in 1980, the wreck of the ship had yet to be found. That's why the wreck is in one big piece here. Here's what the wreck of the model of the wreck of the Titanic looks like today. This is Robert Earl Hughes, the one-time world's heaviest man and his pet dog. At his heaviest, Robert weighed over 1,000 pounds. This is the crew of the USS Hunchback. taken in Virginia at the end of the Civil War. Unlike the Army, the Union's Navy was actually integrated. I think I would have also been the banjo player during the Civil War. These are the very first employees of Coca-Cola, pictured here in Atlanta in 1898. This was how big the cake for Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip's wedding was. In 1962, 3 men escaped Alcatraz Island prison after fooling guards with papier-mâché decoy heads that looked like this. Speaking of which, this is what the menu for Alcatraz prison looked like on March 13, 1956. And finally, here's what a typical Alcatraz cell looked like. This is one of the last pictures ever taken of President William McKinley, shot moments before he was assassinated in Buffalo, NY in 1901. This is a picture of the first Ferris wheel ever, designed specifically for the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. Here's what the view looked like from it. This is perhaps the first photo of people drinking beer ever taken, snapped in the 1840s. In 2010, 30 intact champagne bottles were found inside a ship that had sunk in the Baltic Sea more than 2 centuries before, around 1780. This picture, taken in 1947 inside the tube room at a Chicago department store, shows the incredibly complicated and intricate series of tubes that would transport money and other papers between departments. This is what the back of the Hoover Dam looked like prior to being flooded with water. And this is what that same side looks like today. This is what a mobile home looked like in the 1930s. Well, one mobile home looks like the opposite of comfy. This is the unfinished portrait of George Washington that was used as a basis for the design of the $1 bill. This is Albert Wilson, the last surviving Civil War veteran. Albert fought for the Union Army and died in 1956 at the age of 106. This is William Hutchings, one of the last surviving American Revolutionary War veterans. He was 100 in this picture. This is Ruth Malcolmson, the woman who won the 1924 Miss America pageant. This tea chest is one of 2 surviving chests from the Boston Tea Party back in 1773. This is Selma Burke, the woman who designed the portrait of Franklin Roosevelt that's still on the dime to this day. This is the dish rag that Robert E. Lee used to surrender the Confederate Army to the Union during the Civil War. It's been called the final flag of the Confederacy. This is the USS Langley, the first United States aircraft carrier. The Langley was sunk in World War II after Japanese bombardment. This is a billboard that was posted outside of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, a town established as a manufacturing site as part of the Manhattan Project. This is Jackie Robinson entering the Dodgers clubhouse for the first time, 5 days before his first game in the MLB on April 10, 1947. This is the last picture ever taken of President Ulysses S. Grant, snapped days before his death at his home. Andrew Jackson was one of the first United States presidents to be photographed. Here he is in 1844. This bad boy is Zach T. Wilcox, owner of the world's longest beard in 1922. Whoa, Zach, save some beard for the rest of us. These are the contestants in the 1930 Miss Lovely Eyes beauty pageant, a contest where women had to wear an absolutely terrifying mask so that only her eyes were visible. Speaking of Lincoln, this man, Valentine Tapley, vowed in 1860 to never cut his beard again if Abraham Lincoln was elected president. Here's him in 1896. He won 5th place at a world's longest beard competition that year. This is the safety net that was installed under the Golden Gate Bridge during its construction in the 1930s. The net saved 19 people through the duration of the work. The 19 men who were saved by the net became known as the Halfway to Hell Club. Speaking of high honors, here's Gail Hooper, aka Miss National Catfish, 1954. This is Henry Behrens, at one time the world's smallest man, doing a little tango with a cat. He stood 30 inches tall and, we can safely assume, was one heck of a dancer. This is a rubber beauty mask designed to eliminate wrinkles, massage the face, and promote skin health from the 1920s. It's definitely not a parasitic, terrifying alien life form. Horse diving used to be all the rage. No, really, this is Eunice Padfield and her horse diving head, first into a pool of water. Let's be thankful this is no longer a thing. This is George Stern and his prized invention, a fast vaporizing fluid that basically let you light your hands on fire and not get burned. George looks so happy with his hands on fire. Good for him. Speaking of babies, they used to travel up with the luggage on planes. This is Martin Lorello, aka the Human Owl, a sideshow performer from the early 1900s who could turn his head almost completely around. Here's what a treadmill looked like in the 1920s. Looks like you could take that thing off-road. Speaking of exercise and weight loss, for a brief, wondrous moment, portable saunas were a thing. Just look at how happy this man is. In 1918, over 30,000 soldiers came together to make a giant human shield. This is what life before the Nintendo Switch was like. This picture, from the early 1900s, shows an early basketball game, knee pads and all. Josh Hart would make that man cry. Here's another photo of a vintage basketball player, standing in front of a piano and striking fear into the hearts of his opponents. I think Jalen Brunson could put up 176 on this dude. This is apparently a group of teachers getting lit and celebrating spring break in the early 1900s. Not sure how accurate the teacher and spring break thing is, but they are certainly getting lit. In 1948, one brave man invented a spoon with a fan on it, meant for cooling soup. Although, according to the Getty Images caption, there's more than meets the eye with this spoon. Apparently it was for inedible soup, and the offending soup is drained away through the hollow handle, via a tube hidden up the sleeve, into a hot water bottle attached to the leg. This is Norwegian speed skater Oscar Matthijssen, pictured with his many awards and honors throughout the early 1900s. He set numerous world records, some even apparently lasting until the 21st century. Here's a scientist testing out a hands-free shaving machine that used robotic arms. Okay, it was actually meant to be used with radioactive material, but shaving is a cool second use case. This is Alfred Langevin, a man renowned for his very useful talent of being able to smoke out of his eyeball. Flight? Invisibility? Nah. Gimme the smoking eye power. In 1936, architect André Basdevant proposed making the Eiffel Tower accessible by car. It would look like this. Imagine taking a Dodge Ram up there and just letting her rip. Bliss. Here's a bunch of soldiers practicing their swimming moves while on land. And here's a bunch of kids doing the same. Can we please get these kids some water? Here's another strange way to learn how to swim. Each one of these kids is connected by rope to this merry-go-round contraption. Looks very safe. In the 1930s, this couple won an Atlantic City dance marathon after dancing for 1,473 hours. Car seats for children were incredibly dangerous in the 1940s. No restraints, no extra safety components, just vibes. This 3,000-pound absolute unit is Lubber, the world's largest horse back in 1930. Easter Bunny costumes were absolutely horrifying in the 1950s. This picture from 1957 will forever haunt my dreams. This is what a gym looked like 2 centuries ago, in 1831. This is 455-pound Piet van der Zwaard, aka the fattest man in Europe in 1955. This is Pauline Musters, the shortest woman ever to live. She was 24 inches tall when she died at the age of 19. This is the View phone, a video phone developed by Toshiba in 1964 that allowed for real-time proto-FaceTiming. This is what a real-deal, true-to-life Muffin Man looked like in 1930s London. So, now when someone asks you if you know the Muffin Man, well, you have your answer. This is a real 19th century advertisement for cough medicine with a very special ingredient, heroin. In 1876, Virgil A. Gates patented the mustache guard, an absolutely brilliant invention for holding the mustache out of the way of food or liquid while eating or drinking. A true visionary. This is the world's longest limo, the American Dream limo. It was equipped with both a hot tub and a helicopter landing pad, just the essentials. In the 60s, you could buy a mail-order squirrel monkey for $18.95. Not great, folks. This truly awful sale would run you about 190 thries today. In 1909, pigs finally flew. Icarus the pig, Wright, went on a short flight with John Moore Brabazon and finally did the impossible. You'll notice Icarus emanating nothing but positive vibes. This is the Peel P50, the smallest car ever produced. It measured 54 inches long, 41 inches wide, and 47 inches tall. This is what the inside of a commercial airplane looked like in 1926. Looks a bit tight. Here's another cabin of an airplane from around the same time period. Would love to read a newspaper with comically small font in one of these seats. This is what a real executioner's mask looked like. Incredibly goofy, but also very, very terrifying. This is what the surface of Mars looking like last month, specifically on September 27th. It was taken by the Perseverance rover. This is the size of a flag flown on a Spanish ship at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1905. Absolutely massive. This is what the largest species of deer to ever roam the earth, the Irish elk, looked like compared to some humans. That's a big ol' elk. This is the 1/24 scale model of Hogwarts that was used in every Harry Potter film. Would love to go Godzilla mode on that. This is Ella Grigsby, aka Madame Aboma, the alleged tallest woman in the world during the late 19th century. She stood 6'10", tall, and was a circus staple. This is Marie Curie riding in her mobile X-ray van, designed to treat wounded soldiers on the go during World War I. Imagine rolling up to the function in the X-ray van. The Vasa Museum in Stockholm, Sweden is home to an almost completely preserved 17th century warship. The ship sank in 1628 and was salvaged from Stockholm Harbor in 1961. Look how big it is. This is what the Hindenburg looked like while it was under construction. It was absolutely enormous. And this is what the dining hall looked like on board the finished Zeppelin. This is an ancient Roman pipe leading to a hot springs. It's still functional today, and full of delicious lead. This is Maurice Tillet, a wrestler who some say the beloved character Shrek was based on. Tillet, known as the French Angel, apparently went undefeated for 18 months in the early 1940s. This is beautician Max Factor with his invention, the Beauty Calibrator, a device designed to show which parts of a woman's face needed more or less makeup. One semester at Harvard cost $170.42 in 1869. That's about $3,900 today. Speaking of the cost of things in the past, a ticket to see the Beatles in 1964 would run you about $4.90, a little over $1 a Beatle. Great deal. This is Daniel Waldo, one of the last surviving veterans of the American Revolutionary War, pictured here in 1864. Ah, so there's Waldo. This is how much some of McDonald's most popular menu items cost in 1992. We have to go back. This unassuming white dot is the iceberg that sunk the Titanic, much less menacing far away. This is what the neighborhood around Tokyo Tower in Japan looked like in 1960. This is the first picture of a tornado ever taken. It was taken in 1884, long before Helen Hunt was ever born. In the 1950s, archaeologists discovered the 13th century doodles of a Russian boy named On Fim, some of the oldest drawings by a child ever discovered. These are from the 1200s. They were made on bark and found next to his homework. This is how big the Statue of Liberty's face is compared to a person. This is a full-sized replica. Tell me, would you give her a little smooch? This is how big a bar of $26,000 worth of gold is. Think of all the places you could shove it. This is what Franklin Delano Roosevelt looked like at the start of his first term as president in 1933. And this is the last picture of Franklin Delano Roosevelt ever taken, snapped just one day before his death. He was 63 years old in this picture. This is what the battleship USS Independence looks like outside of water. Looks like it should be flying in outer space. This picture from Abraham Lincoln's funeral has a special guest. In the second story window, shown here is a young Teddy Roosevelt. This is what the Golden Gate Bridge looked like while under construction. It's from 1936 and looks quite peaceful. Here's a real live copy of the Magna Carta from 1305. 1305, a great year. This is what the pyramids of Giza look like from above. Khufu would have loved this. You're definitely familiar with King Tutankhamun's gold funerary mask. But did you know that the masks of other pharaohs have been found? This is the mask of the pharaoh Amenemope, circa 1000 BC. Really cool, and no offense to my man Amenemope, it kinda looks like the generic grocery store brand of Tuts. This is what the back of the Price is Right wheel looks like. This might be the most mind-blowing thing I have ever seen. This is what a canal in Venice looks like, fully drained. This is done to clean the canal and search for any mysterious clues to unsolved mysteries. Okay, maybe just the first part. This is what New York City's Central Park looked like during the Great Depression. This picture, captured in 1933, showcases a range of Hoovervilles, makeshift settlements created by the unemployed and named after President Herbert Hoover. This is what the Panama Canal looked like while it was under construction. Absolutely enormous. This is Jeanne Calment, the longest-lived person ever verified. Here she is at the tender age of 120 years and 239 days. She apparently ate 2 pounds of chocolate a week and smoked until age 119, passing away at age 122. Of course, like any story of a super old person, there's some controversy. This is what a human skeleton looks like compared with a gorilla skeleton. The gorilla skeleton would make a fantastic offensive lineman, I think. This is how big the anchor chains of a ship are, specifically those of the RMS Mauritania. This is Alfred Langevin, a man renowned for his very useful talent of being able to smoke out of his eyeball. Flight, invisibility, nah. Give me the smoking eye power. In the early 1900s, Sears sold entire mail order homes that would be shipped via train and put together by whoever bought one. This house cost $5,675. A bunch of these homes are still standing. This glorious 1,200-year-old specimen is the biggest, best-preserved piece of human poop. It's from a 9th century Viking and apparently worth almost $40,000 too. This is the check for $7.2 million issued August 1, 1868 that the US sent to Russia for the purchase of Alaska. Would love to personally receive $7 million from the US government one day. This is the first ever photograph of an operation, taken in 1847 in Boston. Looks a wee bit unclean. This is Fernand Meissonier, France's last executioner, standing next to one of the guillotines he used on the job. Someone was executed by guillotine as recently as 1977 in France. The death penalty has since been abolished. This is what the USS Midway looks like compared to a person in a kayak. This makes me feel very relaxed. Just kidding. In 1731, King Frederick I of Sweden was gifted with a lion that, after its death, he sent to be stuffed and preserved. The only issue was that the people doing the taxidermy had never actually seen a lion. This, the Lion of Gripsholm Castle, is the finished product. This is what a Coke bottle from 48 years ago looked like. It was intentionally a throwback design for Coke's anniversary. This is what the World Trade Center looked like at the very beginning of its construction. Construction began in 1966 and was finished in 1971. This is what a fusion reactor looks like compared to a person. This particular reactor is located in China and set a record 160 million degrees Celsius for 20 seconds. This is Igor Sikorsky, inventor of the world's first practical helicopter, getting ready to take off in his contraption. This was in 1939. And here he is in the air. Here's a scientist testing out a hands-free shaving machine that used robotic arms. Okay, it was actually meant to be used with radioactive material, but shaving is a cool second use case. This is a group of World War I soldiers creating a human Liberty Bell at Camp Dix in 1918. This is what people did before iPhones. Here's a scene from the 1924 Olympics gold medal hockey game between the USA and Canada. Canada won 6-1. This is what Marial Water Park, home of the world's tallest water slide, looking like while it was under construction in Qatar. I can feel the wedgies just looking at this picture. Cough medicine used to be very, very, very strong. Add some melatonin to that baby and you might never wake up. Aboriginal Tasmanian Fanny Cochrane Smith, singing into her phonograph. In 1903, without her efforts to preserve her culture, we would have no audio traces of the Tasmanian language. The first interracial marriage in Mississippi, 1970. 3 years earlier, the 1967 Loving v. Virginia SCOTUS ruling legalized interracial marriage in the U.S. The only known photograph of an African-American Union soldier with his family, circa 1864. Dance teacher Patsy Swayze, center, with her daughter-in-law Lisa Niemi and son Patrick Swayze, 1978. Jane Russell shows her co-actress Marilyn Monroe. At the time, Jane was the bigger star. One of her talents, drawing. Here she draws and sketch of Monroe, result at the end. This was during the filming of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, 1953. Beautiful Ukrainian girl in national costume, 1935. Photo before and after restoration. Gertrude Ederle, first woman to cross. The English Channel, 26 August 1926. Done in 14 and 31 min, beating the male record of 16 and 33 min. Photos of the day she did the record. London, 1940. A girl sitting in the wreckage of her bombed-out home with her doll. Group of friends enjoys the beach and sun in the 1940s. In Arviat, Nunavut, northern Canada, 1949, an Inuit girl descends into her ice igloo house. In the middle of a celebration, a young woman from Oaxaca, Mexico, notices she is being photographed and gives a look to the camera, 1985. This photo shows Margaret Ann Neve, an American woman who passed away in 1902 after reaching the age of 110. This woman was born in 1792, which means she lived in 3 centuries. 112-year-old veteran of Bawewan and Russian Civil War, Taimruz Vanacha, and his son, Ivan, a veteran of WA2 in 1980. Blackfoot Chief Two Guns White Calf, early 1900s. A mother and daughter hamming it up for the camera, ca. 1900. Marcy Borders, Dust Lady, after escaping the North Tower of the World Trade Center on 9/11. She would die of cancer at age 42. Barack Obama visiting his step-grandmother, Sarah Ogwell Onyango Obama, Kenya, 1988. Sarah Obama, affectionately called Grandma Sarah, by the former U.S. president, was the third and youngest wife of Obama's grandfather. Photograph from the 1993 Great Flood, when James Scott intentionally sabotaged a levee, triggering a massive Mississippi River flood to delay his wife's return home, allowing him to keep partying. Mixtec woman from Oaxaca in her traditional dress, 1970s. They share land with the Zapotecs, which is an entirely different ethnic group. Her Majesty Queen Marie of Romania, 1896. Mayan women in the Yucatan Peninsula, around 1952. The dress is called the Mayan huipil. Two young boys standing barefoot on moving electric looms in order to reach the top shelf while at work in a cotton mill in Georgia, 1910. Photos of child laborers working long hours in dangerous conditions gradually led to child labor employment laws. This photograph, taken over 100 years ago, in Jerusalem, 1920, shows a sign in the background reading the Palestine German Bank. Remarkable window into history and the vibrant multicultural presence in the region during that era. Vienna, 1965. Traveling exhibition of Schaubus with models of American spaceships, Space Mobile at the Austro-American Society. Bosnian soldiers of the Austro-Hungarian Army, the year 1914. U.S. Navy divers discovered the Gemini 5 spacecraft and astronauts Gordon Cooper and Charles Conrad in the Atlantic Ocean on August 29, 1965. A Japanese doctor measures the patient's pulse, Japan, 1890s. An officer of the Russian Empire, armed with a rifle, is trying to prevent two soldiers from leaving their posts. World War I, Eastern Front, 1917. Washington, D.C., 1924. Billy Friel pumps up his soccer ball using someone's spare tire. Mike Tyson before making his professional boxing debut in 1985. Nicholas VI and his daughter Maria are under house arrest after the February Revolution of 1917. An American of Korean descent with a rifle on guard at his grocery store is ready to defend himself from rioters in Los Angeles in 1992. The orphan lamb sleeps with the mahouts who adopted him. New South Wales, Australia, 1956. A Soviet soldier smashes a fascist propaganda poster with a rifle. January 26, 1944. Gay China, Leningrad region, USSR. A guerrilla woman in camouflage patrols the jungles of Guatemala in June 1982. A new model, the Chevy Bel Air, was shown in September 1955. Patients watch a movie at a U.S. Army hospital during the flu pandemic. Roya, France, 1918. An RAAF Mirage aircraft over Sydney, Australia. The construction of the Opera House can be seen in the background, the year 1970. Richard Calvert-Jones and the Colosseum, Rome, Papal Region, 1846. St. Mark's Square, Venice, Austrian Empire, the year 1855. Russian sellers of fruits and other goods in Helsinki, the year 1907. The first photograph of the office of the President of the United States under the leadership of James Buchanan stands in the center, taken in 1839. photo of the Volkspolizei volunteers in East Berlin, the year 1989. Palm Beach, Florida, around 1905. St. Mark's Square in Venice, the Austrian Empire, circa 1860. Russian sailors in Helsinki during the February Revolution of 1917. British and French workers meet during the construction of the canal, which for the first time connected Britain and continental Europe, the year 1990. Promotional photo for the 1922 silent film The Witches by Swedish director Benjamin Christensen. Homemade Monopoly made by American soldiers. The artist Auguste Renoir paints flowers in his garden, the 1910s. Alcatraz Prison Menu, 1946. Japanese balloon bomb, 1945. The explosives were mounted under a balloon, which, according to the samurai's plan, was supposed to reach the shores of the United States and automatically activate the infernal machine. The idea failed. Street makeup, 1943. Labor Prison, North Carolina, 1910. The prisoners were used as labor for road construction. For security reasons, the prisoners were transported in cage cars. Carrie Nation with her anti-alcohol hatchet, 1901. Swimwear made in 1915. The drunk in the basket. Turkish bars employed people whose job it was to carry heavily intoxicated customers home. A basket was used as a container, the 1960s. An American Marine tries to talk to two young Japanese prisoners captured in Okinawa, 1945. Stylish men's hairstyles, a guide for hairdressers, the 1970s. American Gunners on Exercises, 1942. Herman Schaefer is one of the legends of baseball. Messengers on Bicycles, 1911. Jazz singer Billie Holiday with her favorite boxer named Mr. The street type of New York, a messenger on a bicycle, 1896. Thanksgiving Day, 1915. The Dartmouth football team, 1901. Red Grange, American football star, 1925.